Hello and welcome to my presentation called Tools for Offensive RTC Security, where I'll be introducing SIPVicious PRO and the demo server that we have been working on. Before I get started, I should probably introduce myself a little bit. I'm Sandro Gauci, leading Enable Security, and to this industry I'm probably mostly known for having developed the open source version of SIPVicious. These days I lead Enable Security, where we do things related to offensive real-time communications security, such as security research, penetration testing, consultancy and training. And as part of that, we also develop the professional offensive security toolset for RTC, SIPVicious PRO. So how do we contribute to open source RTC? Well, we contribute using various different methods, but I'm going to talk about OpenSIPit, which was a recent event that happened a month ago, where a number of SIP-based software project developers joined up to do interoperability testing, focusing on new RFCs such as those which define the stir-shaken protocol or protocols, which is trying to block caller ID spoofing. From our part, we were doing security testing of this new code, so trying to find security issues that such new code introduces, and also helping out with validation of the tests. Now, this is not my first talk at TADSummit. My previous talk for TADSummit EMEA Americas, I spoke about why I think taking a purely defensive stance to security when it comes to real-time communications is simply not enough. I spoke about why we need to look at offensive security with regards to RTC security and came to the conclusion that it is often not done for two main reasons. The first reason being that there is a lack of training opportunities in the offensive RTC security world, and also there's a lack of robust security tools that are simply not available. So in this presentation, I'm not going to complain so much about the state of things, but instead I'm going to be looking at the tools and training opportunities that are available, and I'm going to do demos throughout my talk. So first, let us take a look at the landscape covering these security tools. So if I click on this link and go to open source tools, this is a repository that we published on GitHub, and it's called Awesome RTC Hacking, and there's a section where we show various security tools a list of security tools that we compiled. We can see that a number of such tools are available, but unfortunately many of them are no longer maintained, while others have not been receiving updates. So in fact this was also the case with SIPVicious open source OSS, where until a year or two ago it was not getting many updates. But now I think we're doing quite a much better job at maintaining the project, and also we're putting some effort into new features as well. So I'll be talking about first about the SIPVicious OSS version, which we're keeping up to date, and we're adding new features. I published this way back in 2007 because I wasn't very happy with what's available out there at the time. It's Python based, and there's three main testing tools, which I'll show now. So the first tool is called as VMap, which allows you to discover potential targets that speak SIP. It does this by pinging or sending an options request, and if anything responds, then it shows you the results. I'm showing this being run against the demo server first, and then we can see that the server is actually running Camelio because this is shown in the server header. Now, as VMap takes a number of parameters, of course, and it's quite flexible. So, for example, here we can specify the SIP extension that we're going to ping, and then we chose SIP extension 1000 because we know it works. And if I press enter, then we're going to see that extension 1000 is being handled by an asterisk PBX. The next tool in the SIPVicious OSS toolset is called as VWAR, which enumerates SIP extensions. So we're going to be running this against the demo server again, and we're giving it a range of potential SIP extensions to scan for between 1000 and 2000. And we can see that a number of SIP extensions have been discovered. We can choose one and use that with the next and final tool that I'm going to be showing with SIPVicious OSS called SVCrack. So let's show that off. We're going to be trying to crack the password of SIP extension 1000 that we found before. And we're going to try numeric passwords between 1300 and 1600. And so now we know what the password is. So this is all well and good, and for basic tests it's useful, but since 2007 things have changed quite a bit with regards to SIP security. Personally, I have rewritten these tools in various different languages simply because SIPVicious OSS couldn't do the things that I wanted to do and had various limitations. So long story short, now we have SIPVicious PRO. Now, SIPVicious PRO shares the same name as the open source version, but it's actually really completely new code, and we have really ambitious goals compared to the OSS version. We wrote this in Go, but really what matters is that we are now covering the entire RTC space, not just SIP. Our goals this time are, like I said, more ambitious, and because we're aiming to create the most powerful offensive RTC security toolset. So let's show SIPVicious PRO a bit. So I will start with the SIP extension enumeration tool in SIPVicious PRO. We're doing the exact same test that we did before with SIPVicious OSS, but this time we'll test against SIP TLS on the demo server. We're trying to guess the SIP extensions between 1000 and 2000. And this is of course much faster. Next I'm going to show the SIP cracking tool against extension 1000, giving it a range of potential passwords between 1300 and 1600 to guess from. Same thing that we did before, but this time using SIPVicious PRO and SIP TLS. So in terms of features, we can do a lot more. We have a lot more tools in SIPVicious PRO. We also support a number of denial of service tests, some unique attacks such as RTP bleed and RTP inject and digest leak, and also fuzzing, which is a whole world on its own. And of course, we support various different protocols for SIP, not just UDP, but also TCP, TLS, and secure WebSockets. Something that's really cool, I think, is that we also support automation, so that SIPVicious PRO can be used inside automated systems, testing systems such as continuous integration pipelines or GitHub Actions. Let me show you what I mean. So the easiest way to automate SIPVicious is by using exit codes. Different exit codes mean different things. In this case, we're interested in exit code 40, which means security issue was detected. Let's do a quick demo for this. So this time we're running the digest leak exploit tool in SIPVicious PRO, And after running it, we're going to echo the exit code. So let's run that. We can see that the attack actually worked and that the exit code is 40, which means that a security issue has been detected. Now this can be easily incorporated in any testing automation system. That's actually a really simple yet powerful feature. So we think this is ideal when you want to do some automated testing whenever, for example, you update your RTC software or your RTC software configuration, and then you can do some security tests automatically. SIPVicious PRO also supports an extensive templating system. Let's show a very simple demo for this. So first I'm going to use the repeater tool within SIPVicious PRO to send a SIP options message to the demo server, just to see what it sends, a normal SIP message that is sent by SIPVicious PRO. Now if I scroll up a bit, we can see the SIP message here. There is no user agent header. Now let's say, for the sake of the example, we want to add a user agent header. Well, first I'm going to run the SIP templates dump command, which creates a new directory, in this case called SV templates. And it puts all the templates that are built into SIPVicious in there. And then I can edit the template file and that's my user agent header. So user agent friendly scanner. So I'm adding friendly scanner for old time's sake. And then we're going to use the repeater tool again. At this time we will tell it to use the SV templates directory to load up the templates from there. And if we scroll up a bit, we can actually see the user agent being sent this time. I think this is a very simple demo, of course, but it should give you an idea of what's available. The templating system is much more complex than that, so you can do a lot more things than this. So what else do we support? Well, there's RTP, of course, and the tools are extremely fast. This is an important feature because when you want to do certain denial of service tests, you do need speed. And also you need to also be able to handle the relatively complex logic that comes with SIP and similar protocols. So we can do that with SIPVicious PRO. And finally, we comply with the RFCs unless the attack requires not to do so. So this brings us to the demo server, which is great for learning real-time communications offensive security by trying. It is quite hard to find something that is vulnerable to all the security issues that we can test for in SIPVicious PRO, so we had to create the demo server because we needed a way to reliably show the vulnerabilities that SIPVicious PRO could abuse. So we had to create it ourselves. This diagram is my attempt to explain how the demo server works. Excuse my skills. So we have a Docker Compose file, and there are various different Docker images. If I mark over here, we have the Camaleo plus and RTP engine, which is internet-facing. It's exposing, it says terminating SIP using UDP, TLS, WebSocket, and so on. We've got a web server, Nginx, doing HTTP. Its job is to expose the voicemail and also have a simple WebRTC application. There's the call generator, which is actually an asterisk box, and another asterisk box behind the Camaleo and RTP engine that acts as a media server. And there's CoTurn as well, for the WebRTC environment, and there's various different small utilities which are running all the time, cleaning up the mailbox and so on. So this machine is actually vulnerable to all the security issues that SIPVicious PRO can test for, and actually a bit more, because we did not yet add security tests in SIPVicious PRO for the turn proxy abuse vulnerability. But this can be tested on the demo server currently, so that's pretty cool. In terms of protocols, like I said, we support SIP over TCP, TLS, UDP, WebSocket, Secure WebSocket, thanks to Camelio, as well as RTP and SRTP with SDS and the TLS, thanks to RTP engine. And there's a WebRTC interface that I can show you right now. So the location is a bit hidden, but I think it's a pretty cool demo. So let's go ahead and click on this. So this menu might look familiar to some. I'm not gonna start a war for now, but I just want to start the developer tools actually. So let me do that. And also refresh so that we can watch the network traffic. And we can just perform a call and see what's happening. So if we open, all right, let me hang up. So this, if we open the developer tools, we can see the network traffic going over the WebSocket server. It's SIP. So you can see that I'm sending an invite message here over the WebSocket. And this is great if you want to test anything related to the security of both SIP and WebRTC. If you're doing any testing for such attacks or training, this page is quite useful. That's a good example. So in terms of what's available here, there's not only SIP over WebSocket, but there's of course handling of turn and stun and SRTP and the TLS and so on and so forth. All the things that you need if you're learning about WebRTC security in terms of infrastructure, especially. So I think this is a very useful part of the demo server. So in terms of future plans, we have plenty. We want to cover more and more protocols, especially XMPP and stun and turn. These are kind of natural starting points for us because we have already developed some tools for these protocols, so we can easily integrate that into SIPVicious PRO. And also we're especially interested in adding support for testing custom signaling protocols because of WebRTC, of course. For SIPVicious OSS, the open source version, we plan to keep on supporting it because it's very reliable. For many people, they are still using it. And in fact, we're adding some useful new features right now in SIPVicious OSS. And finally, I think it makes total sense to open source the demo server project. We didn't do that yet because there's a lot of cleaning up to be done, but it seems to be particularly useful to other people who want to learn about offensive RTC security. So feel free to put on some pressure on us and so that we can speed that up. I'd like to thank Alfred Farrugia for his assistance with this presentation and developing SIPVicious PRO and the very cool web interface for calling over WebRTC. Also Pinaki for his work with open source SIPVicious. And of course the audience for TADSummit and Alan for inviting me to present again at this conference. So if you'd like to see what we're up to, do check out our blog and subscribe. It's called Communication Breakdown, at rtcsec.com, and that's where we publish our stuff. So if you want to keep tabs on our latest publications, that's the place to check. And in terms of getting in touch with me or with us, check out our website, or my email address is sandro@enablesecurity.com.